Hello and welcome to the Tool Assisted Podcast. This is your host, the 8-Bit Beast, and today is still the 23rd of February 2019. This episode is a continuation of the episode about the Sonic Adventure games, and today we're going to be talking about Sonic Heroes with THC98. We heard about your adventure tasking in the last episode. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with Sonic Heroes?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I've never actually done RTA runs of Sonic Heroes previously. I've played the game casually a lot, like just for fun, but I've never been serious to it before doing my first test. But there was some day that the VMan, which was one of the main runners of both Sonic Heroes and SA2B, wanted to do a test of that game, and he needed a little bit of help with it. And he made a test. I helped in a few places here and there, and we've finished a quite nice time of in the first stage. But it wasn't a very good optimized test because, well, VMan is not a tester. He's a real-time speedrunner, so there were a lot of optimization things that he didn't really know about or wasn't used to. Not saying that he's bad at it or anything, but you do need a little bit of experience in TAS and to know if something is optimized or not. So yeah, that wasn't the case for this TAS. It wasn't very well optimized everywhere. So sometime after that, I wanted to go back at that IL he did and see what I could do by myself. And I actually got to improve his time quite a lot because I found a very neat trick in the game that I will talk a little bit more further in this episode, called a kick Exo. It basically allows you to build a lot of speed very quickly, like very, very quickly. And if you watched one of my Sonic Heroes TASs, it is the Leave It To Me trick, which you will just hear Leave It To Me over and over again while Sonic is mad kicking through the stage. So yeah, I will explain that further in the episode later. But that was probably the trick that made me want to work work further in the game. So yeah, I started doing a full game TAS. I've completed the 5 first stages of the game and uploaded all of them to my YouTube. But then I stopped working for a while, and a few tricks were found for the first stages, which are actually very huge tricks. We're also gonna cover them in the episode, which made me not want to continue working on the TAS because I knew that earlier stage could be improved by 30 seconds or probably much more than that. So that I kind of stopped in there for my Heroes TASs. And also after that I went to focus my works on SA2B as I was working on Hero Story and other ILs. And then life happens. I have way less free time than I used to because I started university. But yeah, Heroes stopped right there. But I do eventually want to return at the game. It might be soon, it might take a while, but I will surely get back to the game and redo the whole thing and hopefully get all the stage done this time.
Yeah, that is a TAS that I'm looking forward to a lot. So, what put you off there was sort of you found stuff in earlier levels that you've already done, so you would have had to redo them.
Yeah. Mostly that, and there is also an issue with the Dolphin version I was using that had some It didn't have the sync problems with Sonic Heroes, but it had like some instabilities, like it would lag occasionally and drop input, so it was kind of annoying to deal with that Dolphin version I was using. So it might be better in a newer Dolphin version. I'll have to test. So yeah, either way, the work would have to be redone because if I'm switching Dolphin versions, the old movie won't sync anyway.
So if you were to make an improvement in, like, suppose you were on a Godolphin version from the start, if you were to make an improvement in an earlier level, how would you go about resyncing the next levels? Would you have to completely redo them, or could you just use the inputs?
Yeah, I've never tested if it would work in Sonic Heroes, but I've done this before in other games, like mostly SA2B. I can just like do the improvement I want to do in the earlier stage and just add the inputs for the rest of the other stages in that same movie file through hex editing. It's pretty funny that you brought this up now because at that point we are in the dark story TAS of SA2B right now. We need to do some hex editing right now. So yeah, it's a very common thing in the GC TASs.
Yeah, I recently helped out with some hex editing for Banjo too. It seems like
Yeah.
it's always good when you can salvage the input that you've done.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so should we move on to talk about Kick Axel?
Sure.
Okay, so what's this all about? I know that it sounds like a bunch of leave it to me's over and over, but what's actually happening?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it sounds like, but what is actually happening that is, well, when you kick as Sonic or Shadow, it works with both Team Sonic and Team Shadow because those are the two teams that have the kick ability. So when you kick as those characters, you get like 0.7 of speed, something like that. And you start to deaccelerate as your kick slides through the ground. So when you get back to the running animation again, you have less speed than the speed you gained with a kick. So in a RTA run, that's the way you would move around quickly, like just kicking over and over again after you get back to the run animation. But that's like not too fast. Like it's not comparable to like spin dashing or bouncing in SA2B. Like it's just kind of fast. But what I found out is that after you gain that 0.7, I'm not sure if that's the correct number, but let's suppose it is for now. When you get that 0.7 speed, you can actually switch to the fight formation. So as Team Sonic, it's Tails, or as Team Shadow, it's Rouge. You can switch to the fight formation, and it will instantly break the kick animation because Sonic will go to the position he needs to be to fly with the flight formation. And if you do that and then switch back to Sonic, as the kick animation is already over, he can already do another kick right away. So you simply kick, switch to Tails, switch back to Sonic, and kick again. And repeat that over and over again to gain a lot of speed. So like that speed you would lose from sliding the kick on the ground won't happen because like the time gap between one kick and another is like 3 frames now. So you're gonna be building a lot of speed very, very quickly.
So can you build up unlimited speed, or is there sort of a cap on how much you can do?
I actually don't have enough data on this, but as far as I know, there is a point where you start deaccelerating so much from switching to the flight formation that like the amount of speed you gain is equal to the amount of speed you lose. So at that point you would have like probably 15 speed, and I'm not sure which is a lot.
So if you're going faster, you decelerate quicker.
Yeah, yeah. That's how it usually works in all of the adventure era games.
Cool. So moving on with that, we got a trick here called keeping speed with triangle dive. So I think I've seen this in a few of those TASs. Do you want to cover this one?
Sure. So yeah, when you get that much speed with the kick so when you have to like cross a gap or just reach another platform, if you simply jump as Sonic, you will instantly lose a lot of speed and it will not be very fast at all. So what you can do instead to keep the most speed that you can is switch to power formation, which in Team Sonic is Knuckles, and do the triangle dive ability of Knuckles, which is done by jumping and then pressing A in the air, which makes him kind of glide with all the characters in a triangle formation. That's called the triangle dive. And that has a very low deceleration, so you can keep your very high speed that you obtained from the kick action for a very long time. So that allows you to like clear gaps you were not supposed to, or reach very far platforms. And that's why it's very commonly seen in the tests.
So it still does decelerate, does it? It's just really slow that you lose your speed.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I can imagine like triangle dive is not the greatest move casually, so it's really nice to see that it actually gets easier.
Yeah, you rarely even use that in a casual gameplay, so it's very neat.
Okay, should we move on to talking about flight Exo Jump?
Sure. So if you want to clear gaps or get a lot of distance, the best move is triangle dive. But if you want to gain a lot of height to like reach a very high platform or something, the triangle dive usually isn't capable of reaching that platform. So you have to switch to another trick, and a very commonly used trick to do that is called the flight Exo Jump. Basically, when you are in the flight formation, which is as Tails in Team Sonic, if you press A after jumping, you initiate a flight, which allows you to press A how many times you want until the flight gauge is over, and that allows you to reach higher spots that you would normally not reach. But in one of those flight exo boosts, if you do one of those flight exo boosts right when you land from the flight mode, you can actually get the vertical boost you would get from the flight exo itself, but you would be out of the flight mode, so you can basically get a lot of height, and then while you are at the peak of that vertical boost you got, you can go to flight mode again and start another flight. So that allows you to get a lot more height than you are supposed to. You are going to see this trick a lot in Ocean Palace and in Power Plant. In Power Plant, that's used very frequently.
So how is it that you can start another flight if you're already up from your first flight?
Yeah, basically that's because as you did a flight axle boost, as you landed, like in the same frame you would land, the game considers you have actually landed, so it cancels the flight mode, but you still get the vertical boost. So it's like if you did a kind of a jump, but way higher than it's supposed to go.
Yeah, it seems like one of the weirder glitches in this game for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on to talking about Catchup flight?
Sure. This is actually a much minor trick of the game. It's just more like a funny little thing that happens when you start a flight with the flying character that may be kinda maybe good or bad depending on how it happens. But basically, if you switch to the flight character and you try to initiate a flight while the flight character hasn't got to the current position you're in yet. Like for example, you are doing a flight exo as Sonic and Knuckles is around. If you switch to the flight formation and right after that you start doing the flight, this thing called the Catchup flight will happen, which is the game will check the direction that Tails would have to go towards the flight formation. Like let's say that Tails is way behind Sonic and Knuckles at this point. When you start a flight, all the speed you have will be transferred to that angle that Tails would have to face to get to the flight formation. So in this case, you would get all your speed towards forward, like all the speed you had to whatever direction you're facing to would be transferred to forward. And that can happen in any direction depending on where Tails is at the moment you start doing a flight. So yeah, that can be pretty helpful or can be quite bad, so that's something to keep in mind while doing a TAS.
So are there good ways to manipulate where Tails is with respect to the other characters?
It's kind of hard to manipulate that. I usually just go with kind of luck. I just test a bunch of stuff that could make Tails move around and check which inputs make him go to whatever position I want to, but I don't really know a very deterministic way of doing so.
Yeah, their movements seem, just from playing it, feels like they would be very hard to control.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So does it take the magnitude of how far away they are and apply that to speed, or does it just look at the angle and give you a set speed?
It's just the angle. The magnitude is the same as the speed you had before, so...
Okay, yeah.
There is also another case of the other character position matters in this game. I'm not sure if you remember from the CSI Hill test, like the first stage. When I get into the first bobsled, I actually do a triangle dive away from the trigger point, but for some reason I get teleported to that spot immediately after doing that. And that happens because while doing a triangle dive, all the three characters are like kind of active in the game. So if any of those characters hit the bobsled trigger, the game will recognize that and you will start the bobsled. So what happens there is that while I was doing the triangle dive, I manipulated Tails to go into that trigger, so it would trigger a little bit earlier than it was supposed to, which looks pretty fun in the in the final test.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, yeah, from what I've seen of this game, it seems like having the three characters there and all separated sometimes does cause some pretty big glitches.
Yeah.
Speaking of pretty big glitches with that, let's talk about bot boosting now. A very new technique.
Yeah, kind of new actually, because it was found like in 2013, 2014. I don't remember. It's not so new anymore.
I'll edit that out, don't worry.
But yeah, it's not been. It's a trick that has not been tested yet, so it's new for us.
It's new to me.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, Bob Boost is yet another case of having the characters separating, doing weird stuff in the game. Basically, while you are in the fight formation, the order of the characters is the power character is in the bottom, so Knuckles is in the bottom, and then the speed character is in the middle, so Sonic is in the middle, and then the flight character is in the top, so Tails is in the top. If you let the speed character get damaged by like an enemy or like a spike or something, and make the power character still be in the fight formation, you will have a formation of only Tails and Knuckles, and Sonic detached from them, and that can cause some very weird issues in the game. First of all, if you try to initiate a flight in this state, you will immediately go towards the speed character because there's a video explaining this a little bit further, but I'm gonna tell it just on the surface. Like, the whole flight formation will try to catch up to the speed character, so it will move like very, very fast towards where the speed character is, so it can restore the supposed attachment that should be happening, like with the order I mentioned. But if while doing that flight you have a wall between the speed character and the flight formation, the flight formation will try to go towards the speed character, but as there's a wall between them, it will get stuck in the wall, and then right after that, the speed character will try to reach the flight formation. And with that speed that the speed character is going towards the flight formation, it will be kept in the whole formation. So you will get sent towards a perpendicular direction of that wall in a really, really high speed. Like, it's really, really fast. So that can be used to skip a lot of things in a few stages, like in Ocean Palace, in Rail Canyon, I believe, and a few other stages that I can't remember right now. Oh, Frog Forest as well. But yeah, there's also something that still has to be looked into, is that there are a few cases of use of this glitch in RTA runs, like at those stages I mentioned. But we aren't sure if it's not possible in the other stages, or if there are very specific ways to set up that glitch in other stages, like doing it in, for example, in Seaside Hill. So that's something that I still want to test. I'm not sure if the Sonic Heroes community has tested that yet, so I'll have to look into that as well.
So, if it wasn't possible in other stages, what would be the reason that's stopping you from doing it?
Well, basically the wall that I mentioned that has to be in between the speed character in the flight formation has to actually stop the flight formation movement to try to catch up to the speed character. So that doesn't happen anywhere. It's kind of a specific setup for the glitch. But yeah, we have to test if that is possible in other situations as well.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's probably a good thing that it's a bit more specific, because otherwise the whole TAS might just be a bunch of bot boosts.
Yeah, that is true, yeah. There's also an extra thing I also want to test about bot boosts in TAS, is that I'm not sure if it's possible to transfer the speed you get from bot boost in the air to a running speed. So like, you would do the bot boost, land on a floor, and then probably switch to the power character and then do a triangle dive to keep most of that speed. I'm not sure if something like that's possible, but if it is, it will make this glitch even crazier. One possible place that I see for it to potentially work is in Ocean Palace, in that section with all those big turtles.
Yeah, that would be very good. So, next thing we should probably talk about is loop speed, and this is slightly different than SA2B because of the homing attack length.
Yeah, there are actually two main differences between how the loop speed works in SADX or SA2B to how it works in Heroes. And the first of them is just the length of a homing attack. Like, as a loop speed, acceleration you get depends on how many frames you've spent doing homing attack. As the length of a homing attack is a lot larger in Sonic Heroes, you will get a lot more speed with doing a loop speed in this game. Like, if you watch CSI Hill TAS, right before the bobsled session, there's a pretty huge loop speed that I get that gets a very crazy speed, so that's pretty much what you expect to get. And there's another case of that right in the end of CSI Hill to skip a portion of the stage, which also looks very nice. And the second difference of loop speed is that unlike the other adventure games, in this game you can actually do a homing attack without having to either jump or spin dash off a ledge. So if you do a kick before running off a ledge, you will get a blue aura when you start falling. And for that you have to do the kick ability and get back to running animation. So when that happens, you can homing attack in midair without having to jump. So that's something that makes loop speed a lot easier, because you can just like run into the loop, get off of the loop path, run a little bit to the side, get airtime, touch the loop path again to get back the loop flag, and then you can do the homing attack to get the loop speed. So the setup is a lot faster and can be done in a lot more places, and it can be in SA2B, which makes this very, very powerful in this game.
Yeah, it already sounded pretty good in SA2B already, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. So last general glitch we're going to talk about here is Power Formation Flight. Now this is only for Team Rose and Chaotix, so well, what's the trick and why is it only for them?
It only works with Team Rose and Team Chaotix because of a specific ability that you can do with those teams as the power character. If you press B while jumping with the power character, in any of those teams you will get a dive towards the ground, like a bounce in SA2B. So as Vector in Team Chaotix you will get that downwards punch, and as Big you will get that belly dive that Big does. So and both of those abilities work in the same way. And that can be abused in a very similar way that gravity can be abused in SA2B with the bounce upgrade, which if you run off a loop or any ramp at all with slanted gravity and do this bounce thingy with the power character, you will bounce towards the current gravity angle you're in. So let's say you're halfway going up in a loop, your gravity will be 90 degrees. So the bounce you do will be straightforward to the global coordinates of the stage. So like when you do the bounce, you can also cancel the ability with the A button and do it again with the B button. And that resets the vertical speed you get, so you can always maintain the current speed above that gravity requirement that was mentioned in the Sonic Adventure episode. You have to maintain both your forward and vertical speed above a certain number to be able to keep your gravity. So by constantly resetting the bounce thingy, you can just keep doing that infinitely, or until you hit a Q plan or something.
Yeah. I think I remember this from GDQ run some time ago as well.
Yeah, it was shown off in GDQ.
It's pretty impressive that it's possible RTA as well.
Yeah. It's not a very, very strict timing trick, like it's not that precise.
Yeah, I think to me it sounds more precise than it probably is, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like how it works, that sounds kind of complicated, but it's not really hard. not that hard to pull off.
Yeah, I'm imagining you wouldn't want to dip under that speed threshold so that your gravity doesn't change direction. So I would be kind of worried about dipping under that speed if I was doing it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of timing to don't get over that or don't get below that threshold.
Yeah. So that was a glitch for Rose and Chaotix. Is there interest in tazzing all four of the teams, or is there only a few that you sort of look at?
I've never really looked into testing those teams. But the first reason is because the kick axle isn't possible in Team Rose or Team Chaotix because the B button as Amy or as SPO doesn't give you any speed, just makes you attack towards forward. So that wouldn't make you build speed through switching to tails to the flight formation and back to speed formation. So a test wouldn't be much different than a RTA run. Well, except it will do things more precisely and stuff, but I don't think it will be different in how it does the stages.
Okay. What about a full 100% game taz? I sure would love to see that.
Well, look, I haven't still even done Team Sonic yet, so let's wait a little more until that. But yeah, the main problem about a 100% test of this game is that it would be a lot repetitive over the teams because you're basically going through the same stages as each of those teams. So I don't think it would be that interesting.
Yeah, there's a suspiciously large amount of games that do that. They like to repeat their
Yeah.
content.
Uh-huh.
What about like a super hard mode, Taz? Would you have any interest in doing something like that, or is it too similar to Team Sonic already?
Yeah, I think it is also too similar to the normal mode. Like there are people that do run this RTA, but it's not much different than a just normal Team Sonic run. So yeah, it would be just an extra repetition.
Yeah, but Tazers have to play on the hardest difficulty, right? Oh,
Uh-huh.
I'll find a rule loophole to make you do it. And then you won't be able to start from save RAM, so I'll make you do a whole 100% Taz just to get
Oh
up to
no,
it.
no.
Oh no. Anyway, I'll look forward to seeing Team Sonic if you get back to it after the adventure stuff.
Yeah, I do want to get back into it, so we might see it eventually.
Okay, so that was sort of the tricks and techniques. We do have one stage specific skip to talk about, Bingo Highway skip.
Mm-hmm. I chose to talk about the Bingo Highway skip because it's one of the most unique and interesting skips of Heroes. If you watch the skip in a run, you'll see a seemingly random movement around a pinball table for about 40 seconds. And then suddenly, by switching to tails, they're already almost at the end of the stage. What's going on behind that weird trick is that when you're in a pinball table in this game, all the teammates are activated at the same time, so switching characters won't bring them to your current location, but rather you control them wherever they are at the moment. So by manipulating Tails' position and then activating him with the pinball table, you can move Tails to get closer to the end of the stage and switch to him once he's gone through the kill planes. So at this point you just have to reach the goal ring. That same skip can be done in the pinball tables of Casino Park too, actually. The last year, Sharu made a test of the stage using this idea twice, cutting off almost 30 seconds of the test I made in 2014, so it's a very nice test. I highly recommend watching.
Cool. So I think that's all we have to talk about here. Is a little bit shorter than the two adventure games, but I think that's partially because it's had less eyes on it for Tazzing, and also partially because we've been recording for about 5 hours now. So,
Yeah.
cool. So I'll leave links to the Sonic Speedrunning Community Discord in the description and show notes. And so, Talis, what would you recommend for people to get into Tazzing, or specifically Sonic Tazzing? Do we need more Sonic 3D Tazzers looking at these games, or just in general, how would someone get into Tazzing, do you reckon?
Well, currently we actually have a Discord server for SA2B TAS, which I've covered a little bit in the Sonic Adventure episode. But in this server, we mainly focus on SA2B because that's the game we're currently active on. But we are gonna eventually also cover SADX and Heroes in that server. So if you're interested in doing any of those games, that is where we are gonna be able to help or teach you any stuff you need. But aside from that, if you want to just do like normal RTA runs of any of those games, you probably should go to the main Sonic Speedrunning Discord, which is a very, very big server right now. And we also have a few extra Discord servers, like we have a Discord server for science in SA2B, like where we figured out RAM stuff, how does some specific thing work, and things about the game's code. So it's a very more technical server, but very interesting as well. And yeah, or you can also like talk to me in Twitter or something. I'm always around that as well.
Awesome. So, we said where to find you in the adventure episode, but let's just repeat it here in case a listener has skipped that episode. So you've got YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, THC98.
Yep, I have all of them. In all of those medias, my nickname is just THC98. My YouTube channel is where I upload most of my stuff. Like whenever I have a new test or new trick or anything to show about, I will post in there. In my Twitter account, I will mostly talk about whatever I'm working on right now and recommend stuff that I find interesting. So can also check that. And my Twitch account is kind of dead for now. I haven't streamed in like 3 years or so. So well, it's here if you want to check it out. Anyway.
Cool. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on again. And yeah, Sonic Heroes is probably my favorite 3D Sonic game, so I really enjoyed talking about that especially and learned quite a bit from that, I'd say. So, yeah, thanks for coming on and thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you.